Hello everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Chris and Sarah here, life transformation and self-empowerment coaches with Soul and Wonder, and we are back with another video on how to not take things personally.
This is a good one.
It's a good one.
How to not take things personally.
Boy, do we know about this.
We know about this because if you're in a relationship with anybody, not even a romantic relationship, just any kind of relationship, then you will undoubtedly at some point be in a situation in which you feel like whatever they said was a personal attack, or however they're behaving or however they're feeling is somehow related to you.
And you feel like shit because of it.
And then your gears start turning. What did I do wrong? Are they mad at me? What did I say? And you just spiral down into this pit of personal despair.
And I think the best way or the best example we could possibly use is us, is our relationship. So I guess early on in our relationship, I was still working through a lot within myself and continue to do so to this day, but more along the lines of my anger and my frustration, my irritability and all of that. And so when things would happen or I would be triggered by an external circumstance of some sort, it would bubble up inside of me and boom, like a volcano would explode. And generally what would happen is that my stress would radiate off of me and I would maybe get short or snippy with her, and let's just say it wasn't a good look for me. And I after the situation would happen, whatever it may be, always felt bad about it. And I know from her perspective, this is when we were first getting to know each other, you know, she may have not really known that it wasn't directed towards her. Rather, it was just the culmination of things happening that I didn't know how to deal with at the time.
It's interesting because it was the perfect match because I come from a history of emotionally abusive relationships. So just meeting someone, let's just say he had a short fuse. Even from the beginning, he was very kind, compassionate, nurturing, but it was those little things that would it would light a spark and then he would explode about it for 10 minutes and then he would be done. And it was never directed towards me. But with my past, I would immediately fall into this space of, what did I do wrong? Something's wrong with me. He's angry. Is this going to escalate to something dangerous? And I would just get into my head and immediately retreat. I would give him his space, go away, and then sometimes I would kind of shut down. And that wasn't healthy for either of us. Or I would react and then get snippy with him right back and get kind of nasty towards him when he's stressed about something that has absolutely nothing to do with me. So I was taking things personally when in reality it had absolutely nothing to do with me, but everything to do with his integration of his shadow parts, anger, rage, frustration, etc., and also his exploration of his trigger points, his stressors.
And I was really learning how to navigate, how to be more emotionally intelligent in all of my waking life, but really in regards to my stress and managing all of the things that were going on within me.
And I think a lot of you can relate to this, whether you've been on one end or the other end. And I know that he's sometimes taken things personally that perhaps I've said or done in a fit of frustration or stress, especially if I'm feeling uncomfortable or in pain or feeling down on myself. He immediately takes it upon himself to want to fix that space and maybe takes it personally if I don't get better. So that was something that we've also worked through since, and it's a constant evolution. We pull back different versions of this experience and get deeper every time. But what's important is that we first and foremost recognize that the other person is having their own unique experience. It doesn't excuse perhaps the behavior. If they do lash out, if they do say something mean, it doesn't give them a free pass to behave in this way. But if we're able to take a step back, recognize that it's not actually about us, take a couple breathers. We're able to hold that space for the other person to work through whatever it is that they need to see for their own healing.
And oftentimes it would be retreating back into myself and moving into a place of solitude to realize that, hey, okay, let's not banish what happened. Let's not say that it was bad or it was good or any of those sort of things. Let's not put any labels on it. Let's just learn how to move inward anytime I am feeling triggered by an external circumstance or whatever is going on, and be able to navigate that in a way that it doesn't just have these short bursts that just come out of nowhere. But then after, let's say that did happen, to come back and really apologize sincerely and say that I'm sorry that I was acting that way, I was just feeling this way, and really just give that person a solid explanation of what was happening in that moment, what I was feeling in that moment. And at that point, whatever was, bubbled to the surface kind of diffuses itself.
If I were to take something personally in response to something he said or did and I reacted, then what happens? We just play this strange ping pong game of stress. It doesn't do anything for us except build more stress. So if he's able to take ownership of his emotions and his reactions to external influences, and if I'm able to take ownership of how I feel in response to him experiencing something that is triggering him into that space, then we're able to become the observers. We can pull ourselves out of that situation, see it for what it is, before we start firing missiles at each other. It doesn't matter who fires the first missile. Maybe he says something snarky. I don't have to say something snarky back. Am I perfect? No. But as soon as that snarkiness comes out, I see it. And then that's just one more step in my personal growth. When I said, I reacted this way. It happened. I reacted this way to him reacting this way. I don't have to continue to react this way.
And since we've been doing this for so long, these moments rarely come up as much. And it's interesting because I was thinking about this the other day and reflecting on some of the past things that had happened in regards to possibly my irritability or my frustration. Doesn't mean that I don't get frustrated and those things don't happen, but it's in the way I react to those things that I'm almost dealing with it within that moment and going within myself before it explodes into whatever it was before.
And if he does happen to explode, I've had practice over the years in our relationship to be able to strengthen my muscle of not taking it personally. It has become easier where I can take a deep breath and say, okay, what he's experiencing is stress, has nothing to do with me.
And vice versa, when she's expressing that maybe she's feeling frustrated of a certain situation, instead of automatically going to wanting to fix that situation, it's just really opening myself up, my ears, to be able to listen to her and actively listen in a way that is neutral. And that is giving her the space to express how she's feeling in that moment. But we're in this together, and we're going on this journey together, and it's so beautiful because we are at this point where we can now recognize all the things of who we were and now who we've become individually and together as a couple.
And this can be practiced with everyone in your life. It doesn't have to be a life partner, romantic partner. It could be with your mom, your dad, your brother, sister, a stranger on the street. Maybe someone flips you off as they're driving by because you were going too slow in their opinion. You don't have to take their actions personally. And that's the beautiful thing about it. That person is having their own experience. Who knows what they went through that day? It doesn't excuse their behavior, but if you're able to become the observer of that moment, you can choose, do I really want to let that affect me in a way that brings me down? Or can I see him, that person, for who and what they are in truth, beyond their behavior, and just let it go? Because sometimes we just need to let things go. I think there are situations where someone's behavior, there's a deeper process that we have to go through to reconcile with that person and maybe what happened in that experience. We shouldn't just let things go just to let them go, because that's spiritual bypassing and false positivity, and we don't support that whatsoever. But it is important to kind of gauge when it's time to take something personally and when it's not.
So hopefully this helps, and we're going to continue to open up to share some of the experiences that we've had in this space so that you guys can learn from everything that we're doing.
One thing I think that has helped us through this taking things personally space is to just comment how we're feeling in that moment. Maybe if I take something personally, I can bring it to his attention. I'm feeling this way because you responded in this way to this external stimulus. And then he can say, I'm feeling this way because XYZ. So all you're doing is bringing awareness to that moment of how you're feeling. And sometimes that gives you space enough to breathe so that you can see like, oh, I'm having my own unique individual experience. He's having his own unique individual experience. And it's up to us. It's our responsibility to go deeper, to go where we need to go for that ultimate healing.
Absolutely.
And to hold that space for each other is what true relationship is about, no matter what kind of relationship you're in.
So if you guys like this video and all of the other content that we're bringing to the table, we ask you to subscribe below and of course leave a comment. How are you being triggered in your relationships and what are you doing to move through them? And we can't wait to see you guys next time.
See you next week.